Hey.
Hey, Nikki here, Bible lady. So, shit, I still didn't change the name of this thing. Hold on, I'll change it right now. Because I forgot what I was doing. But me and Dustin figured out a name for this. Uh, 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 yeah. There we go. So now let's see what it comes out as. Yeah, it did. Yeah, there we go. So here's what we'll do. We'll share the shit because why not? What else are we doing? Yeah. And we're doing this mostly in honor of my cousin because she's recovering from radiation. So we are keeping her company. Um, we're keeping her company. Watching true crime. So that's what we're doing. So, uh, come on this way. Have a seat at the party pen. I'm glad you brought your pajamas because it's pajama time. Ow. Oh, man. I'm having so many problems. Waiting to see if my cousin shows up. If any of my cousins show up. Maybe Empress will show up. Oh, did you almost see that? I almost just lost my microphone. Won't be doing that again. Holy shit, did you see that? I almost just died. Real problem. What was I doing? This. And this. Yeah. Okay. So this is from the Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Frankie YouTube shit. I watched this whole trial or whatever, but I do know that there are a few people who watch me that have no idea what the hell any of this is. And it's like, yay, I'm kind of glad because, hey, cuz, how are you? Great, great. Listen, I found a thing that I was gonna watch. It's about two ladies who get their just desserts. And these ladies are why I named my Bible God Said What? Hey, Michael, how are you? Are we ready to press play? Because I am ready to press play. Because, hold on. I need to get my life in order. Bam! There we go.
I was just wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Did you hear me
Taking
say
you
hi
to
to
the
you,
nearest
Noli?
police
I said
station.
hi.
What's going on, son? Have a seat there.
It's no business.
Ring, ring, ring.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Wait a minute, how do you come to my house?
I am.
And I'm a good woman.
I don't do naughty things.
The lives of family lifestyle influencers Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie imploded on August 30th, 2023, when one of Ruby's 6 children was discovered weak and hurt. The other 5 had not been accounted for at this time, and law enforcement wasted no time in launching a full investigation.
He was not found discovered. He was not found discovered. He escaped out of a window. And he's tried to escape. I'm going to shut the fuck up. I'm going to shut up. I watched this live. Well, when it had, I watched it. Anyway, I'm going to shut my mouth because there are a lot of people that don't know about this. This lady was a YouTube mom. She's a Mormon. She's a YouTube mom who abuses her children. I'm a YouTube mom who gets abused by her children. I'm just kidding, but the freaks are mean.
As the police delved into the twisted dynamic that had grown between the 2 women, they never could have anticipated the depths of the depravity the children were subjected to, or the mind-boggling justifications offered by the perpetrators.
I just want my kids back. I want my family back.
Adults have a really hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it.
The following report is based on police records. When Dan Clarkson answered his doorbell at 10:46 a.m. on August 30th, 2023, he never could have expected his actions would kickstart a nationally publicized police investigation. However, as soon as he laid eyes on the young boy outside, he immediately knew something was very, very wrong. His Ring camera captured the heartbreaking conversation that ensued.
Yes.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just one's fine.
What's going on, son? Have a seat there.
It's personal business.
This was actually the second neighbor the boy had attempted to contact. At the first house, there was no answer, so he'd been forced to move on. The disturbing reason he was seeking help came out when Dan made this emotional call to 911.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. Said he just came from a neighbor's house. He's hungry and he's thirsty.
While Dan was on the phone with the 911, his wife gave the boy, who introduced himself as Russell, snacks to eat while waiting for help to arrive. But shockingly, there was some.
Can you guys hear this? Is it loud enough? Is it loud enough? It says it's all the way loud, but it doesn't sound loud.
something more
Okay.
appalling about the boy's condition than his extreme malnutrition.
He has duct tape around
Big
his ankle.
injuries, and there's sores around them.
Yeah, there's sores around him. I think the good chance he's been.
He also has
And he has it around his
wrist
ankle.
as well.
I mean, his wrist as well. Okay, this boy has been.
Needs immediate attention.
And yet the most heartbreaking revelations were yet to come.
Okay, this boy has been.
Needs immediate
Oh.
This kid has obviously been. I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered his. He says what's happened to him is his fault.
We need the police here now.
The police and an ambulance were already on the way.
Yeah.
During the tense waiting period, Russell revealed that he'd been staying with his mother and her friend, Jody Hildebrandt, since May. Terrifyingly, he added that he wasn't the only child in Jody's house. His two sisters, ages 9 and 14, were still inside.
She said, I'm gonna cry.
As Russell underwent medical assessment, more police officers arrived.
We need to identify that house, and if there's 2 other kids there, we need to go do a security sweep of that house and help them.
They were about to realize that they'd gotten there in the nick of time. As the police staged in Dan's driveway, a woman drove up in her car and announced that she was searching for a 12-year-old boy. She gave her name as none other than Jody Hildebrandt, the woman Russell said his family had been staying with. Cleverly, the police didn't tell Jody how much they already knew. They just took down her address and said they would come to speak with her shortly. She didn't have to wait long.
Wow, okay. I didn't know Jody showed up. I thought it was Ruby. I thought they pulled over Ruby. I learned something new. See, it's why I watch these things. I'm up. You know what? I'll show you after we watch this. I'll show you the thing about 2 of the girls I was in prison with. They're the only. No, just wait, little Michael. I'm telling you, these ladies, this case right here is why I named my Bible God Said What. Not fucking kidding. I swear to God. I have I have a live stream about it. Is this case right here. But after this, I'll show you a couple of girls I was in prison with. And they're really gross. They're really gross. These ladies I was in prison with, they're not cool crimes.
Ring, ring, ring. Police officers, open up!
Oh shit.
Got movement right here?
Right there.
Contact?
There we go.
Got movement, Michael.
Open the door!
Let's see this fun shit.
Jody, I need you to step out.
I have my attorney.
That's great. Step out of the house.
No, I'm not gonna step out of the
Step out of the
house.
house. Step out of the house.
Whoa.
We're just gonna see if
Whoa,
anybody
whoa,
else.
whoa.
Is there anybody else home?
Wait a minute, how do you come to my house?
Right there.
Look, they come on into my house. Do you have a search warrant?
We'll explain it after this.
You can't just come into my house without a
yes,
search
they
warrant.
can.
Jody was mistaken about the need for a warrant to enter the home because the police already had probable cause due to a 911 call the neighbors had placed after Russell showed up at their door. There was a clear emergent need to enter and a warrant wasn't necessary. The police must account for the welfare of the other 2 children. They certainly had their work cut out for them, though, because the house was massive. During the search, the police found one room that appeared to be set up for filming. This, they would learn, was because Jody and Ruby both had a significant online presence. More details would emerge throughout the investigation, revealing the dark side of these social media influencers. To ensure that they left no corner unchecked, the investigators retrieved the blueprints of the house. This turned out to be a brilliant idea, as the schematics revealed something that might have been overlooked otherwise. Outside, Jody did not appear to be shy about expressing her displeasure at the intrusion.
I have Airbnb guests over there. Probably scared me to death.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the house?
Yes,
2 kids?
there's a little girl.
Just one?
She's right over here.
Okay.
The Airbnb guests were the least of the police's worries right now. Following Jody's instructions, they made their way down the hall to a bathroom with a large closet. What they found inside was devastating.
Hi, I'm a police officer. Are you going for the union here? Hey, you okay? Is there you in here? I'm Sergeant Tobler. What's your name? I just have one. Where's your sister at? Contact one. You okay? Huh? You doing okay? You don't want to talk to me? Yeah, that's okay. Can you come with me though? We got Jody out here. You know Jody?
According to the information Jody gave, this was Russell's 9-year-old sister Eve.
We want to be best buddies, but we're getting a little mad here because he won't give me
She
his
can't.
shoes. Guess what?
Okay. She cannot because there's a child in the house and it seems to be extreme. They're called exigent circumstances. Hold on, we'll find out what's going on with the daughter. I've got to rewind this because I was talking through it. Okay. So they can go into her house legally because the hurt little boy said there was a little girl in there. So they're going in because of the little girl. So we're about to find out what's going on.
Huh? You doing okay? You don't want to talk to me? Yeah, that's okay. Can you come with me though? We got Jody out here. You know Jody?
According to the information Jody gave, this was Russell's 9-year-old sister Eve.
We want to be best buddies, but we're getting a little mad here because he won't give me his shoes. Guess what? I learned how to ride a bike with no training wheels. Come here, I'll show you.
Despite the officer's gentle approach, she sat eerily still and quiet,
Yeah.
hardly giving a sign that she could even hear him.
You take your time, bud. I'm in no hurry. I'm a police officer. Did you know that? I don't mean to hurt you at all. You doing okay? Are you scared?
No, we'll find out about the other ones. Quit. I don't want to ruin it. There's 2 other girls, but they are not here.
Yeah? You're okay. Do you need help? I'm not gonna hurt you. Promise. See this right here? It's a badge. It tells me I don't hurt people. I'm just here to make sure you're okay. And I get if you're scared. I would be too. Okay? You wanna come with me?
This poor little
Still,
girl.
Eve didn't respond. They hatched a new plan to win her over with pizza. While they waited for the food to arrive, the officers kept her company with the utmost patience, refusing to rush her out of the closet until she made the choice
Look at
to
her
leave.
arm.
I'm just gonna sit down.
Look at her arm. She's going to be tall. This is going to be a tall girl. But look at those arms, that poor baby. She's going to be real tall. She's going to be tall like basketball player tall.
So I'll just sit here with you. We don't have to say anything if you don't want to. Okay? I'll just sit here with you.
Meanwhile, back with Russell, the EMTs got a close-up look at the duct tape and wounds around his ankles. What they found was almost unspeakably gruesome. But even this was overshadowed by what Russell said next. In between bites of the snacks from the neighbors, he told the police officer documenting his injuries additional details, which made the situation all the more sickening.
You're not in trouble with me, okay? We're just trying to figure out what's going on. Our main focus right now is you, okay? Who put the ropes on you? Supposed to help you what?
The police report revealed the chilling answers that were redacted in the body cam footage. Russell said that Jody and his mother, Ruby Frankie, had restrained him with ropes to help him with what he'd been choosing. How the women had chosen to treat the resulting wounds left EMTs puzzled. The officer who spoke with Russell repeated the distressing details to his supervisor on the phone.
Little Nolly. Wait till you see what they covered these wounds with. When they cover these wounds, I'm going to pause it. Maybe you'll know why they did. Okay. This wound dressing seems like something that would be like pagan or witchy or something like that. Will you let me know if you've ever heard of this and what it could be used for? Well, I have trouble losing weight as a grown up.
They put cayenne pepper mixed with honey and then covered
Okay. Cayenne pepper with honey and then covered it with plastic
with
wrap
the plastic saran wrap and then the duct tape over
and
the
then
wounds.
duct tape.
Detectives have found evidence.
Okay. What do you know about that? Do you know anything about cayenne pepper and honey? You know, I could have looked this up a long time ago, but I didn't even think about it. But now that I have you here, do you know what it's used for? I wouldn't think an open wound though, right? Like that's crazy. Cayenne pepper, oh my god.
The honey and cayenne mix.
Honey. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, they used it to cover rope burns and shit from him fighting. That's terrible.
Mix in the upstairs bathroom, along with more ropes, used bandages, and other wound dressings.
A medical got there, they started cutting the stuff on, and then you can.
Yeah, there's a delay, Nolly. I don't know how to fix it or how to solve it. That's why it seems like I just sit here doing nothing for a second because I'm trying to read it. Oh, okay.
See like the dark around his ankles. You could smell it. When they went to go peel it, they thought it was some of the dressing. It was actually his skin that was peeling.
Oh,
Obviously, the police wanted to talk to Russell's mother to understand what could possess someone to treat a child in such a manner. As of yet, though, Ruby Frankie, along with Russell's older sister, were still unaccounted for. Jody certainly wasn't sharing where Ruby was, as her behavior became increasingly strange as the house search continued. When this officer seemed unreceptive to her stare, she tried a different target.
Are you waiting for me to say something, or? Okay.
Inside, the search went on for more children, especially Julie, the older sister Russell said was at Jody's house. There was no sign of her yet, so the police decided it was time to confront Jody about what they'd found when referencing the blueprints. A safe room in the basement, locked with a vault door.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You have a room downstairs that has a safe wheel on the front.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get access to that to ensure that there's no one else in this home?
Shit.
Adam.
No, are you
They
staying
do need
to
to search
watch
if there's somebody
Molly?
else, so I think you can give them access.
Michael,
Make
are
sure
you
there's nobody.
guys staying to watch?
After further back and forth to get the
I
lock
mean, just
combination
wait
from
till you see
Jody,
the
the team
husband.
returned to the basement to open the safe. Upstairs, additional officers were still trying to gain the trust of the little girl in the...
Shut up. Okay. Nolly, are you still staying? Yeah. Are you guys still staying? I've asked this fucking 20 times. Don't only answer it the one time because just wait till you see the husband. Nolly, stay till the husband. This guy's a douche flute. He's really bad. And just wait. Oh, sweet. Awesome, Michael. So you can make fun of this dad with me too, but don't, don't be too gross. The dad he's douchey. Okay, here we go.
bedroom closet.
Found dead skin.
She found dead skin.
Dead skin.
Get out from underneath my bed. Right now.
Sorry, Mom.
I am more upset that you came in my room when you knew you weren't supposed to. You knew that it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
You're still going to have the consequence of not having your nails done for a month.
Mom.
It's a deal. Give me a hug.
Mom. Can I help you two to get paid? Because I want a lot of money.
You.
They likely hoped that the arrival of the pizza would change things in their favor, but they were in for yet another surprise.
I'll put this here, okay? Whenever you're ready, you can eat. There we go.
Despite how painfully thin she appeared, Eve didn't go for the food right away. Eve proceeded to eat the entire pizza and requested 2 more large slices from the lunch that the police had. As Eve ate, the plan was to focus on opening the safe, but suddenly a new priority emerged. With no warning, Ruby Frankie, Russell and Eve's mother, arrived on scene. After determining that she had no weapons on her, she was taken to a separate area of the house to wait out the search. The police would check in with Ruby once they finished going through the house. The only place left to look was the basement safe room. When they opened the door, though, they were likely crushed. Julie was not inside. At first glance, the room looked to be nothing more than a barren bolt hole reserved for emergencies. When they started opening drawers, though, they turned up some stomach-churning evidence: handcuffs, a length of rope, and a carabiner. Based on the condition of Russell and Eve, the police received an official search warrant that enabled them to collect these items, along with many of the electronics, as evidence. But even after being in the house for hours, there was still no sign of Julie or the other Frankie siblings. The only certain thing was what should happen with Jody and Ruby. They were both placed under arrest for aggravated child abuse.
Okay, just place your hand behind your back for me.
Okay, I promise from now on I will never watch a case that I know, so I don't ruin it, because I want to answer your questions, but I know the answers. And it'll ruin the whole show.
In the process, the officers likely noticed some strange behavior from Ruby. She didn't say a single word, put in the back of a police car with Jody. The police had to hope.
Okay, we know this is a shit woman, but she is absolutely right on this part. Don't say a motherfucking thing to nobody about anything. Ask for a lawyer. Again, she is a shit person, but she is dead right on this.
hoped to be more verbose when the time came to ask her how Russell and Eve had gotten in such miserable conditions.
Okay, go ahead and have a seat. She is definitely not a talker.
She not? Not everyone.
Even if I ask her a name or just like, not even ask them about things, she looks at me and goes.
While Jody was at least responding to direct questions, whether she would respond to the hard ones police had in store was yet to be seen.
I'm a little nervous.
You're to be honest with you, if I was sitting over there, I'd be a little nervous too. So don't worry about it. We're just here to talk, to get your side.
So I trust my attorney. He said, don't say anything. And I said, I have nothing to hide. And he's like, I know that, but just let me be there with you when you talk. So you guys seem nice people. I'd like to just tell you, but I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're gonna flip my word. I'm a psychologist. I've watched people flip things all the time.
Look, she's scared of word magic. Word magic. She is explaining word magic. I don't want to talk to you because word magic.
I sit on your side. I get it. It looks bad that I don't want to answer anything, but it's not because I'm trying to be difficult.
Even though Jody refused to talk without a lawyer, trying to get information from Ruby was astronomically more difficult.
We're just here to talk to you about kind of a few things involving your kids. So first, do you live down here or? Or do you live up north? Do you want to talk to me about where you live or how many kids you have?
This is just your duty.
I have a lawyer. Okay. So do you want to talk to us at all?
There was hardly any doubt that the two women had done horrible things to Ruby's children, but with women unwilling to talk, the police still had no idea why. Answers, though, were closer than anyone thought. When the detectives first got to the police station, they found a surprise visitor waiting. Ruby's husband, Kevin Frankie, was there, and he wanted to pick up.
All right, Nolly, get ready for this. Michael, get ready. Because this guy is going to be fun to make fun of.
Kids. With so many burning questions pertaining to the Frankie family, Kevin was detained and taken to a third interrogation room where he was read his rights.
How did you find out that you needed to come here to the street?
I received a message that I needed to come pick up my kids from the police department in Highlands.
And who was that message from?
Well, I prefer not to say right now.
Does it make sense that that would happen? I'm just not aware of anyone who did that from our department.
Right. And I'm not comfortable saying right now who reached out to me.
Okay.
Was that Jody?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Kevin was keeping quite close-lipped. However, it wasn't all bad news. Back at Jody's house, Eve finally seemed to be warming up to law enforcement.
You don't want to talk? Okay. There's nothing at all you want to talk about at all? It's okay to talk to me. Are you scared? We helped your brother. And we got him some help too. And that's what we want to do for you. If we want to get you some help too. We are safe. We will not hurt you, and we won't do anything to hurt you.
It took a total of 4 hours before Eve was willing to leave the closet with medical personnel. When examining her in the ambulance, EMTs discovered that she had wounds on her feet and decided that she and Russell both needed to go to the hospital. Thankfully, as Kevin's conversation with police continued, he was willing to provide some crucial context.
And how many kids do you have, Kevin?
I have 6 kids.
So are they all living with you or?
No, I haven't seen them for over a year.
Any of them?
No, none of them.
For a year?
Over a year.
Okay.
I've been in a separation.
From who?
From my wife and family.
Wait till you hear about this guy. Oh man, this guy. I swear to God, I would never want to be married to this guy. I would be terrified of him for life. This guy is. And not even because he did anything wrong, it's because he's a douche. And you never know when this guy.
Ruby invited me to leave the home while I thought.
Did you see that? She invited me to leave the home. Look, she invited me to leave the home.
While I thought about the choices that I've made in my life and the way that I've treated her.
And did you ever try to reach out to the kids, drop by the home, or was there?
I honored the no separation boundary that we agreed to.
When was the last time you saw Ruby?
The last time I saw her was the 18th of this month. We met to, she requested me to sign over vehicles, or the titles to the vehicle that she drives, were all in my name.
When's the last time you physically saw Russell or Eve?
The day
I hate this
that I
delay.
moved out, July 24th, 2022. So my job is to financially provide.
I was trying to figure out like how much of a role do you play in the caretaking of specifically of those two kids?
I pay the bills.
Okay.
With my job, I provide the money, goes into a shared bank account, and that's my only involvement.
As the conversation went on, Kevin seemed to be just as in the dark as the investigators.
Who lives in that home with your, is it ex-wife? Is it currently a separated wife? Like who lives in that home with your children?
To be honest, I don't know. I know that she's there with 4 of the children, and our 2 older children have moved out.
This likely came as a shock to investigators. If there were 4 Frankie children still living at home, that meant they weren't just missing Julie, but another one of Russell's teenage sisters, Abby. Before launching into frantic search, the detectives decided to finish talking to Kevin, hoping he could give them an idea of where to look for the girls. As conversation went on, though, Kevin's story only got stranger.
Who's this female Jody that your wife lives with? Do you know a female named Jody?
She is a therapist and a life coach, I know, and she's.
Do you respect her?
Do I respect her? Yeah, I think she's a very honest, truthful person, yes.
Okay. Is your wife a partner of hers? Is your wife a roommate with her? Your kids are living in her house is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not aware of that, but I know that they've been in business for the last year filming. So every week a podcast goes up and I listen to it.
What's the name of it?
Connections with an X.
This would explain the film set discovered in Jody's house. As it turned out, Jody and Ruby both had a significant following on Instagram and YouTube. Jody was a therapist, and her accounts focused on counseling and family dynamics in alignment with the Church of Latter-day Saints, of which she and Ruby were both members. She called her program Connections, and
This actually is not even a Mormon thing. Jody is just a Mormon counselor. They do have Mormon beliefs, but the shit they're doing it's nothing like Warren Jeffs and the polygamy people and shit like that. Actually, it's nothing like any of the Mormon groups. This is their own thing.
And had written several books sharing her methods, and even taught online Zoom classes on the topics of family health and harmony. Ruby, meanwhile, created more slice-of-life content, cataloging daily life with her family as members of the Mormon faith. Her main platform was a YouTube account titled 8 Passengers, supplemented with an Instagram under the same name. In due time, the police would learn that the content made by Ruby and Jody had become unimaginably twisted behind the scenes.
Are you involved with the business efforts? Or?
Just real quick, this thing about Jody Hildebrand. Michael, you will recognize some of the shit she says because it's like Jordan Peterson turned on its head mixed with insanity and religiosity. Okay, it's like Jordan Peterson from hell that has PMS and menopause. It's really fucking crazy. I made a live stream about that the other day. Listening to her is like listening to a demented Jordan Peterson.
And were you involved in the 8 Passengers account with your family?
Yes, I was in the videos.
Recently, Ruby's online presence had undergone a shift. She rebranded to Truth Mom, but began focusing less on her own channel in favor of working with Jody on connections.
You guys got a lot of heat for neglect and child abuse. A lot of people commented those things on there. Why were they commenting those things?
That's a good question. We had a son who was acting out in very selfish behavior.
Just Chad or
yes, this was Chad. And none of this is strange or odd.
She did convince men. She did this a lot. But she did convince men that they were abusive, addicted to porn, and they needed to be kicked out of the house. And people speculate it's because Jody is a secret lesbian. She's in the closet.
Get on YouTube and find out all sorts of
Speculation. She's in the closet.
stuff on this.
Eventually, Ruby stopped posting on her private YouTube account altogether, which Kevin said eliminated 90% of the family's income. Her last video on Jody's channel, though, had come out just 2 days ago. In the interrogation room, Kevin shared more about the situation, which led to public outcry against the Frankies.
He was being very cruel and mean to his siblings that he shared a room with. And so we removed him from the room. And we said, you can sleep anywhere you want. Sleep on the couch, sleep on the pull-out bed, sleep on the floor for all we care, but you're not sleeping in that room with your brother. He chose to sleep on a beanbag. So 9 months later, he had made a lot of changes in his life. And he was ready to, and we had moved by that time. And so we had a new house, and he was ready to move into his own bedroom. Made a video about it. And in the video, he mentioned something of the effect of, I've been sleeping for 9 months on a beanbag. And that is what all the uproar was about.
This wasn't Ruby's only...
Oh, they didn't show the clip. There is a clip where he calls her out on live stream about not having a bed for like a year because he played a trick on his brother. He told his brother they were going to Disneyland. So the little boy packed his clothes, and then the teenage boy laughed at him. So he lost his bedroom privileges for a year.
Run with the law. Shockingly, just 5 days before her arrest, she'd been pulled over while driving with her kids in the car.
Hello. You know how fast you're going right there? No. Okay. Got you going 57.
and a 35.
Holy
Ruby
shit.
was sent on her way with only a speeding ticket. Back with Kevin, he explained that the situation with his oldest son, Chad, was the catalyst for Jody getting involved with the family. She was hired as Chad's therapist and had the boy personally paying her $900 a month. From there, her involvement with the
I'm a therapist. It's $900 a month to watch my YouTube.
family only grew. How this could have led to the breakup of the family and the near starvation of two of the children
Actually, I'm a sage. I'm better than a therapist, so $900.
is yet to be explored.
During your marriage, how was disciplining your kids? How would you discipline your kids?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer the question.
Are you aware of the physical condition of her?
No, I've chosen to trust wife with the children. That was part of the agreement of our separation.
Kevin was about to learn the harrowing consequences this decision has caused.
We received a phone call from 911 on our dispatch that a 12, 13-year-old boy was knocking on doors in a neighborhood asking for food and water. So he had,
I'm sorry, what?
had duct tape on his extremities, on his hands, on his ankles, and those were covering rope burns that were used to tie him down. Take a second.
My therapists are pretty good. I have two of them. A chunky little white chick and a really pretty little black chick.
Think about what I just said. That's the condition of your son. Given that information, your son was taken to the hospital. A warrant has been applied and granted by the Department of Child and Family Services to remove both Russell and Eve from your wife's care. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Would you condone that behavior?
Would I condone that behavior?
That's my job. My job is to find out your knowledge of the treatment of these
based on
precious children.
description, no. But again, I don't know the details or I don't know what's going on, but as you described that sounds
horrible, disgusting. No human being should be treated like that.
The investigators stepped out to give Kevin a few private moments to come to terms with what he'd just learned. When the investigative team returned 10 minutes later, Kevin took the opportunity to ask a burning question.
What's going to happen with my wife? I love my wife.
I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I don't know.
They just told him his kids were really bad off in the hospital. And he asks about his wife.
That interview with
I don't think those charges against my wife.
Possibly. I think given the circumstances, that's highly appropriate, but again,
That night, the police decided that Ruby would be booked into jail to await her attorney. Even this, though, failed to get a reaction from her.
Makes you want to let you know what criminal charges for, so you're under arrest. It's going to be 2 counts, second-degree felony of child abuse or neglect, okay? Do you understand that or no? Are you okay? I'm wondering if there's like a medical clearance that needs to, like, do you need medical attention before you go to the jail? Okay. Have you ever been arrested before?
She takes this not talking to police shit real serious.
I'm just concerned about you. I know you don't believe that. But I've had an opportunity to talk to your husband and kind of worried about your circumstances and obviously your children as well.
No, he was not worried about his kids.
But you're sure you don't need medical attention or anything like that?
She is seriously fucked up. Like, she's like, I don't deserve to be here. It's like, yes, ma'am, you do. Just wait.
Jody, too, was escorted to a police car to be transported to jail facing the same charges. Still inside the police station, Kevin learns more from the investigators about the children.
And so, I mean, this feels like getting run over by a steam truck while you're sharing with me today.
Yeah. I can tell you're caught off guard.
I thought I was just coming here to pick up my kids, and for what, I don't know what or why, but. And I was planning on taking them back with me. Everything you're sharing to me just sounds like a made-up story. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, it's just, it sounds like a horror movie. And what you're sharing with me just feels like a sucker punch. I feel responsible. Separating, leaving. It hurts. I know you're all doing your jobs. And I know you all have the best interests in mind. I appreciate that.
Thanks. That means a lot.
I just want my kids back. I want my family back. I want my wife back.
It was doubtful either Ruby or Jody would be getting out of jail anytime soon. Jody grabbed this through the lens of religion while speaking with a friend she called from the county jail.
And this is the whole conversation. I swear to God, I have the whole thing on a live stream with my big ass mouth proving everything she's saying right here has nothing to do with hurting children. This right here is why I named my Bible God Said What? Because God did not fucking say that. And neither did Jesus fucking say anything like that. As much as I hate Peter and Paul, neither one of them said anything like that either. And I'm not even a big fan of the New Testament, and the story of Jesus hurts my feelings, but I will fucking stick up for it when people are wrong about it. And she is wrong about it. Now, I'm gonna shut up.
I don't think I'm going to be like some kind of example, but when I get out of here, I have a story to tell, and I am going to try to do everything I can to protect the children, because that's what's happening, is that kids are being just horribly abused. Well, I have just been begging him, like, you've got to explain this to me. Like, I cannot logically figure out what's going on here. I mean, I should be here. I haven't done anything wrong.
Ruby, too, made some equally baffling claims during her jailhouse phone calls.
But the most upsetting thing is that I am completely misunderstood. That is the most horrible feeling. Like, my own family misunderstands me. They misinterpret me. And poor Jody, they misinterpret her. They misunderstand her. She puts her neck out on the line for people, and then they get mad at her. I mean, it is just horrendous. It's horrendous. And you know what? Every Joseph Smith, every wonderful man of God has had to be misunderstood. And I'm a good woman. I don't do naughty things. This is the witch hunt.
It wasn't all dark and twisted news, though. In a stroke of luck, the police located Julie and Abby. Shockingly, they were nowhere near the family home in Springville. Rather, they were located more than 20 miles away at a house belonging to Ruby's friend and fellow Connections member, Pam. How she'd gotten there, though, remained in question. Pam was handcuffed when the police arrived and agreed to answer some questions while waiting for additional investigation.
Yeah, her husband was like, what?
To arrive. While one officer sat with her, the other took the opportunity to check in with Julie.
Do you need medical attention at all? Okay. Is there a reason you're so scared right now? It's us? Okay. Well, I'm sorry if you've had a negative interaction with law enforcement in the past, okay? My intention is not to scare you. Do you go to school?
Down the driveway, Pam was unhandcuffed when investigators arrived from Springville. She told them that she'd received a call from Ruby asking her to pick up 2 of her daughters while she dealt with a family emergency. Up until this point, the officers were under the impression that it was only Julie at the house, but Pam clarified that her older sister Abby was also there. Thankfully, neither she nor Julie appeared to be in physical distress like Russell or Eve. Julie and Abby appeared hesitant to go with DCFS representatives when they arrived, but were safely taken into custody to await the outcome of the investigation. The uncertainty over Abby and Julie's whereabouts had been answered, but so many questions remained. First and foremost,
he does not have limited choices. He could fucking be a man. But help fix his wife by throwing her in jail. Like, learn a lesson, crazy.
the quandary of what could have happened to leave Russell and Eve so frail and traumatized. Kevin returned to the police station with his lawyer for a second interview. The additional details he was about to share were nothing short of astonishing.
Have you found the pen papers?
The pen papers.
So it described all of the visions and trances and everything that Jody and Ruby went into.
How thick would you say it was?
It was like 3 inches thick or so. And there were hundreds of pages of written documents. It's something Jody would not want found.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't want to destroy it.
Because we do have Ruby's journal, which is from those dates that you mentioned.
These things.
Look, Ruby's journal. I want to find it because I would like. Well, actually, she's not being charged for any of it. But it's called Ruby Frankie's Journal. Check it out. There are lawyers who have read it. And it's pretty intense.
Things are going to be so. The stuff she wrote in the pen paper, she would not write in her journal. The stuff she wrote in the pen papers was not intended to be read by anybody until God would decree them to be written as scripture for the whole world to read.
No, that shit's evidence.
I believe that's what we have.
It wasn't certain whether the documents found by the police were actually Ruby's pen papers or just a journal. Regardless of what they were called, the contents revealed a wealth of heinous secrets. On July 10, 2022, Ruby wrote, "Eve and Russell have been in so much deviant behavior they won't control their bodily functions. I never would have suspected the cold, dead heart Russell has." Ruby echoed these sentiments in one of the phone calls she made from jail.
Adults have a really hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it.
According to the journal, Russell and Eve were locked in closets, made to do physical labor, wall sits, jump on a trampoline, stand out in the rain, and carry heavy boxes up and down the stairs for hours on end. When Eve slipped and fell while carrying the boxes, Ruby accused her of doing so on purpose, and then shaved her head as punishment. And this was just brushing the surface of what the children endured.
I've never had a kid quite like Eve, but she does not like to sit and listen. I don't know if that's just her personality and she just needs me to be more strict with her than what was required with some of the other kids, or if she is displaying hyperactivity tendencies. So I'm gonna try to figure that out today. I honestly don't know which way it's gonna go. She knows that I mean it and I'm gonna carry through with it. If she absolutely is not capable, then I'm going to maybe take further measures to figure out if there's hyperactivity tendencies going on, or if she stays and she's really good and she listens, then it probably just means she needs a little bit more strict routine with her.
According to Kevin, the fight against so-called evil had not originated with the children. In fact, the downward spiral had begun more than a year prior under some very strange circumstances.
We went out to like a dinner afterwards, and that's where Jody really opened up to the women in a private conversation that she believed she was being tormented and haunted by shadow figures every night. And that was spooky.
Ruby also revealed that Russell and Eve still sometimes failed to control their bodily functions. She presented this as a method by which they defied her. Back with Kevin, he alleged that Jody's experiences had rapidly grown more intense.
She was walking along the beach with Jesus, and Jesus challenged her to go walk on the water, and it was a whole lesson on walking on the water.
And that was still just the tip of the iceberg. The more investigators read of Ruby's journal, the more depraved the story became. Tuesday, big day for evil, she wrote on July 11th. All night, Eve screamed and hit her head on the tile floor. Today, Jody confronted her. Eve admits to putting on a show for her mother. Eve said she wants to be pitiful. When the investigators read on and learned what torment Eve had endured to reach this level of desperation, they likely didn't know whether to be enraged or heartbroken. Jody mentioned her experiences with what she called the spirit in one of her jail phone calls.
When I feel the spirit, I have two physiological reactions. I get really like shaky, like I'm shivering, like I'm cold, or I feel heat, like I have a fever.
That's called hot flashes, you crazy bitch.
Come true for me. It felt like I was burning up, shaking with gratitude. Like, here's your answer. Here's what this is.
Also, you're being possessed by Satan, you crazy asshole.
Kevin, he revealed that while Jody's alleged visions had initially seemed positive, things quickly took a much darker turn, and things changed inside the house.
There was a lot of satanic ones. When she would go into possession mode, she would talk in like different voices. It was really creepy. But the voices would say, she's ours, we're not letting go. She is Satan's bride. She's mine. I'm going to marry her.
Apparently, there's tapes with this lady doing that, and everybody, well, a few of the lawyers say it's like, she is mine, I'm going to possess her. You know, does silly shit like that.
If she was faking it, she believed that Satan wanted her as her bride.
The journal revealed that Eve experienced horrific punishment.
I'm sure Satan has better taste than that.
This is the day Eve anticipates breaking her 2-day fast, Ruby wrote. I let Russell know she has hardened her heart and will do one more day of fasting to invite her to humble. Eve flips out and begins ranting. All day, Eve makes rhymes about my mom starves me and calls it fasting. In his second interview, Kevin continued his description of what it was like to live with Jody.
I can't explain some of the stuff that happened while we were there, like crashes in the basement while we were talking upstairs, and plates like in the kitchen just flying off by themselves, like full speed, smashing on the wall and falling to the floor. And I don't have any way to explain it other than there's some crazy going on.
On other occasions, Eve was doused with water in the dog wash and made to sleep on the basement floor, and it only got worse going forward. Kevin, too, said that back in 2021, the situation with Jody took a similar downward trajectory as she became increasingly entwined with his family.
But it reached the point where in August, her bishop at the time, he's not her bishop anymore, but I mean, he's going over there every night, and he'd be there for like 4 hours. Then he'd be like, I'm fighting evil spirits, I'm casting demons out, there's crazy stuff going on. And finally he got to the point where he's like, I can't do this anymore.
Possessions are weak-minded people. If people are really possessed, it's because they are weak-minded. They have no... I don't know what to call it. They don't have the mental strength to fight shit like that. Evil is real, man. But it's not happening to Jody.
There needs to be some sort of resolution.
After the bishop left, the first attempted fix was for Jody to move in with another family involved with connections. The opinions Kevin shared about what happened with that family reflect only his beliefs, and we have not been able to verify them.
According to that, after 6 weeks and trying to seduce the husband of the family, they kicked her out.
While there was no way to prove that Jody had been held against her will, the police knew for a fact that Russell and Eve had been. Ruby documented one particularly horrific confrontation between Russell and Jody, whom she refers to frequently as G-Joe. G-Joe takes Russell on a little walk to the pool, Ruby wrote. She talks on how Russell has love twisted. G-Joe then pushed Russell into the pool. Meanwhile, Kevin recounted the events after Jody either escaped or was kicked out of the other family's home.
It was at that point that they said, "Why don't you take her up to your house?" And I was like, "Oh, hell no. I don't want this in my house." But I was beaten over the head with it. Like, that's really insensitive. You know, she's done so much to help our family, and you're being selfish, and she has needs, and come on, like, it won't be for long. And so I relented, and I was like, okay.
Later in his second interview, Kevin told the police about
Schizoaffective, I think, is what she has.
Change that took place in the Frankie house after Jody moved in.
But you can't diagnose people you've never met, so.
And the moment she showed up in my house, just the weirdest crap started happening. Lights turning on and off, sounds of people walking in walls, and like sounds like footprints going up walls and across the ceiling, and stuff floating around. And I became the resident exorcist. That was the title I came up with myself. I thought it was kind of funny. Whenever she started to like go into a trance and go into possession, which started to be a lot. And Ruby would go up and check on her. It started like every 4 hours at night, and then it moved every 2 hours at night, then it moved every hour at night, and then at some point Ruby said, "You know what, I'm just going to start sleeping in there. And if I need you, I'll come down and get you."
Maybe.
Kevin said that Ruby and Jody began sleeping in the same bed. However, this was only the beginning, and soon Kevin noticed that he was being subjected to unique restrictions.
I could leave when I wanted, but I couldn't come back until Ruby gave me permission. I couldn't come into the kitchen to eat.
Wow. Hold on. He said, I couldn't come back until Ruby gave me permission. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. I need to hear this again.
Hour at night, and then at some point Ruby said, "You know what, I'm just going to start sleeping in there. And if I need you, I'll come down and get you."
Kevin said that Ruby and Jody began sleeping in the same bed. However, this was only the beginning, and soon Kevin noticed that he was being subjected to unique restrictions.
I could leave when I wanted, but I couldn't come back until Ruby gave me permission. I couldn't come into the kitchen to eat until Ruby gave me permission. And the upstairs where Jody roamed was completely off limits. Ruby would dictate all of the terms of how our interactions would be when we would talk. No matter what I did, no matter how much.
Could you imagine, Nolly, if Jason was like this? Because Dustin would kick my ass. Not literally, but no. He would be like, fuck no. Are you kidding me? I'm not doing that shit. Fuck y'all.
I tried to track better, be, truthful and not be selfish. I think it was like, you're being manipulative, you're being selfish, you're lying, you're hiding something, you're still hiding stuff. And I really started to question my sanity, honestly. It became more and more and more and more and more isolated. Jody had an approved list of men that I could make phone calls to.
This appeared to be a method Ruby repeated with Russell at Jody's house. Ruby recounted in the journal how she woke one night to find Russell missing and a note written in pebbles on the balcony which read, "Jail. I will call when I get there." Panicked, Ruby said she and Jody searched the house, then got in their cars and began driving around looking for Russell, which Ruby described as racing the devil. They brought him home. Disturbingly, she went on to describe the concession of letting Russell sleep in a bed and feeding him a full meal the next day as like stitching up a patient knowing you didn't get all the cancer out.
Okay, look at me. Don't say help anymore.
You just said it.
Yeah, so I'm very clear.
I listen,
what I'm talking
Michael,
about.
but some of this stuff is just fucking wild, and it would never happen. And I'm wondering if Jason would put up with this from Little Nolly.
I won't say that again. Do you understand? Because next time you won't be smiling on your face.
Kevin explained the situation never improved as everyone tried to appease Jody and Ruby.
So I was completely cut off. You know, if I went to my church leaders, I was seeking enablement. If I went to my family, I was seeking enablement. If I went to anybody, I was seeking enablement. I felt trapped. And that's where I was all the way up until the last week of July, when Jody called me one day out of the blue and just said, "I don't understand why you're not getting it."
While everything the police had learned so far was certainly horrific, they would soon realize that it almost got unimaginably worse for the children.
I didn't think you would. Like, what are you doing? Like, what the hell are you doing?
On the journal entries, the authors believed that the children's bodies needed to be engaged in painful good work as punishment. Just as Ruby and Jody set out to look for rural land in Arizona for the Frankie children to work, Ruby got a text. "I found the land." As the move to Arizona loomed dangerously closer, it became obvious that the women wanted the pair to choose punishment over respite. In an emotional phone call made from her jail cell, Jody had this to say on the topic.
Nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth because these kids, I told Doug, I woke up, the spirit told me, it's all the devil. I mean, you've seen him. And he uses these kids, and he uses all of us as the adults, the parents that don't hold the kids accountable. So now it's abusive to make a kid sleep on the floor. It's abusive.
Wow.
It's abusive to, it's ridiculous. You can't even raise your kids anymore.
This was the sort of stance Jody put forth through her program, Connect. At its peak, her Instagram had over 10,000 followers, leaving the police to wonder just how many other children might have suffered the ramifications of her influence. Later, in the midst of the investigation, Kevin continued his story of his family's breakdown.
So that separation continued all the way up until the holidays, maybe. And then Ruby ended that separation. Jody went home the second week of January. But by that time, Ruby, Pam, and Jody were completely determined to do this work that they felt God had for them. I thought it was crazy. I thought it was just bad crazy.
When talking with Kevin, the police learned just how far Ruby was willing to go to pursue her.
Yeah, but don't stick up for this guy. Just wait. Look up Kevin Frankie's interview. And look up his interrogation. I love my love wife. I respect Jody. She's good.
Work with Jody.
She wanted to legally work with Jody's attorney to give Jody 8 passengers and become an employee of Connections. Basically, the contract was Ruby gives Jody everything and Ruby gets nothing in return. Our YouTube manager at the time was like, red flags. I don't know how to tell you. She is scamming you. Ruby fired him.
Regarding this issue of Ruby and Jody's business entanglement, Ruby made some interesting claims in one of her calls from jail. In fact, she seemed to be changing her attitude towards Jody entirely.
Jody Hildebrandt never was my business partner, nor was I ever her employee. I never received wages from Connections or Jody. In 2019, I hired her as a counselor for my son. And then in 2020, I paid her to be my mentor. She's a whirlpool. She just pulls you.
Regardless of any legal business arrangements, finances became an increasingly central component of the travesty that befell the Frankie children. This became clear when police continued reading Ruby's journal and gained further insight into the disturbing reasons she and Jody were looking into moving to Arizona. Jody and I took Eve out into the desert, Ruby wrote. She went out into the heat, barefoot. Eve still tried to run. She screamed for another family, water, food, care, love. Oh, Eve, a manipulative ploy. Ruby's journal entry about taking Eve to the desert became even more heartbreaking. Apparently, it was only after Eve collapsed on the road exhausted that Ruby took her home. But not for long. The very next day, Ruby, Russell, Eve, and Julie all returned to the desert. For the next 3 days, the children were made to weed and tidy a cemetery on a nearby Native American reservation. They were not allowed to wear shoes or gloves, despite the fact that there was broken glass and thorns everywhere. At one point, Russell became so desperate to escape the heat that he stuck his head in the toilet. Footage of this suffering was captured by a local who explained in no uncertain terms to Ruby that she was not welcome there and that she would be filing a police report. This, Ruby wrote in her journal, was a sign that the devil does not want us to take Russell and Eve out of society. Apparently, relocating to Arizona was their chosen method of avoiding further unwanted attention. One has to wonder how long the plan to get to Arizona was in process, though, based on an interaction Kevin mentioned happened before the separation.
Ruby started threatening me with another separation. And just like, this isn't about money, this is about doing God's work. So we continued in that dynamic for the next 6 or 7 months until she went on a trip with Jody and Pam down.
This guy let her, and he took part in the abuse on their YouTube channel. Like, he is a bad guy. He is playing victim, and he got away with it.
To Arizona, and I think they, like, when I read her journal, she went into Mexico or something and bought drugs or something, like prescription drugs for the emergency kits. And when she came back from that trip, before she even brought the bags into the house, she pulled me in and said, I want to talk with you, and that's when she asked me to leave.
And so Kevin left and got an apartment in Springsville. At some subsequent point, Ruby also left the family home for the house in Ivans to live with Jody, where the lives of her children would become a living nightmare. Back with Kevin, he said that when Ruby initiated contact again, he had no idea the sinister plan she had in store for their children.
Around that time, things with Ruby started, like, picking up, and I didn't understand why, but, like, Ruby wanted to meet in a parking lot and wanted me to sign over 2 of our cars, wanted me to sign them over to her name. I'm in total compliance mode at this point. Just like, I'm a good husband, you see, you can trust me.
Ruby's comments on the journal somehow managed to become even more disturbing. She wrote, "This girl would choose to be shot and die than to humble." Even that wasn't the most disturbing part, though, because after locking Eve in the closet overnight, they decided to treat her injuries from the cactus. Ruby said, "The spirit was very strong as Julie and I witnessed Jody cleaning what did not deserve to be cleaned." Kevin continued his story, discussing the moment he found that his family had disappeared to live in Ivans, leaving their own house empty.
But when I returned to the house, everything was packed up, and a neighbor came over and said she asked for the HOA rules and mentioned to him that she wanted to rent the house out. Which I was like, are you kidding me? And apparently she wanted to sell the house, but couldn't because my name was on the mortgage.
In another jail call, Ruby revealed that the Arizona scheme had gotten further along than anyone yet knew. One shudders to think what could have happened if Russell hadn't escaped before the move.
I pulled the money, and I have it in a bag.
With you? Do the police have it?
Well, I don't know what the police took.
But the bag was at Jody's house?
They can't just people's money. I mean, that's not right.
In a stunning twist, the person on the other end of the phone was none other than Kevin himself. In the days following Ruby's arrest, the pair made several phone calls where Kevin tried to ensure he received custody of the children and secured the money that Ruby had pulled out. Kevin's demeanor towards Ruby in these calls might be unexpected.
I am committed to our family. I'm committed to you and our marriage. No matter what happens, I will be here to support you. And
no matter what happened, I will be here to support you.
Any way that I can.
Well, thank you for stepping up.
During this call, Kevin and Ruby agreed to limit their contact going forward to strengthen Kevin's chances of gaining legal custody of the children. A discovery made the next day, though, blew that out of the water.
The bag's gone.
What?
The bag is gone.
What?
There's no bag.
The only thing more shocking than the bag's disappearance was where Ruby had gotten the funds in the first place. Kevin and his lawyer revealed the source of the missing $85,000 while speaking with police.
That money, she cleaned out their bank accounts.
The kids' savings accounts.
Yeah, and yours too, your joint account.
Yeah.
That's where that money came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you can have, or if I need to have a discussion with the county attorney. Kevin would kind of like his kids' money back.
Unfortunately, tracking down the money and attempting to return it to the children would likely become a separate civil case. While Ruby didn't comment on this directly while in jail, she had more thoughts to share the longer she was behind bars.
The devil is so sly, and I'm embarrassed it took such a huge slap in the face to wake up to it.
On another call with her parents, Ruby proofread a court statement she wrote to address her children and acknowledge her actions.
I would do anything in this world for you. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly. I took from you all that was safe and soft and good. I took from you your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. I will never, ever stop crying for hurting your tender souls. You are such a very precious part of me. I'm so very sorry.
But no apology in the world could begin to undo the horrible trauma experienced the Frankie children. In contrast to Ruby's attempt to make amends, Jody's response was the same as it was at the beginning of the investigation.
The Lord says that first they'll lay their hands on you and persecute you.
Oh my God. I hate every time she talks because none of this has to do with hurting children. As a matter of fact, everything she is reading right now is literally what Jesus says before he is crucified and deleted from God's YouTube, because he was trying to give his disciples strength. It was for no other reason other than they were spreading something that was not Jew law. I hate this lady.
You up to the synagogues and into prisons, and the children shall rise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death. That statement right there is what's going on with me.
No, it's
the
not.
Children shall rise up and put their parents to death, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake.
Ultimately, Ruby and Jody were charged with 6 felony counts of child abuse and neglect each. Rather than go to trial, Ruby and Jody pleaded guilty to 4 counts of child abuse. Though their cases were adjudicated separately, they received the same sentences. On each count, Jody and Ruby were sentenced to serve between 1 and 15 years in prison. The sentences were to be consecutive, meaning both women could be behind bars for up to 60 years, which could be the rest of their lives. Kevin continues to lobby for custody of his children, who were taken by DCFS and placed in foster care. The Frankie's oldest daughter, Sherry, is writing a book about her upbringing and has requested the public respect the privacy of her younger siblings as they attempt to recover. While their current status is unknown, we can only hope that the Frankie children are at long last experiencing the kindness and gentleness that they deserve.
Okay, I have a question. Do we want to go and watch this thing about this girl I was locked up with? She did some terrible ass grimy shit, and I was in prison with her, and I yelled at her. Actually, I did in the prison kitchen because she's still trying to get out of jail, and she's still going to trial, and she's still putting the family through this trial and shit. Angela. And here you go. Hold on. Let me find it. Okay. What is it? Greensboro 5, I think. What's her name? Damn, where's the thing that I watched on her? Hold on. Let's see.
Also new at new, youngest member of so-called Greensburg
Okay,
just got
that's
a new
what it is. Yeah. Maybe this is it. Yeah. Right here. Okay. Okay. We'll watch that right now. Okay. Good night, Michael. We'll watch and I only remember 2 murderers. They're the only 2 I could find. So we'll do the other one tomorrow because she's actually from here in Ohio.
It just wasn't a place where this kind of stuff happens.
What did you do? I just her wrist. Tell us the truth.
A crime of this magnitude was huge.
The manner of death is no doubt homicide.
This is the most horrific that I've ever seen done to a human over that period of time.
Who could do this to her?
She wanted friendship, companionship, but most of all she wanted was to be accepted.
Talk about the worst lottery in the world.
Oh, shit.
Greensburg is the county seat in Westmoreland County. It is a beautiful section of western Pennsylvania, about an hour east of Pittsburgh. It's really known as a place with a lot of beautiful farmland, rolling hills.
Jennifer and I were originally from a small, tiny village called Luxor, Pennsylvania, but it's close to Greensburg, Pennsylvania. We were close, my sisters and I, growing up together.
Jen Doherty was a wonderful, happy 30-year-old woman. She lived with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
I didn't realize at first that Jennifer was different, not until grade school. I realized then because other kids treated her differently, adults treated her differently. I was always extra protective of Jennifer because she didn't realize that there were problems or that somebody did not like her. I was worried about Jennifer leaving school and going into the real world because she was now considered an adult, even though she was not intellectually an adult. Around 2009, Jennifer had joined a place called West Place, which was a clubhouse that offered therapy and social opportunities for people like herself, and that was where she had met Peggy. They would hang out and do things at West Place. They would also walk around Greensburg. There were concerts in the park that they would attend together and just walk. She liked walking. She was a walker, so she was content to have a friend to do that with. Jennifer had gone to Greensburg that Monday morning because she had doctor's appointments and she was going to spend time with her friend Peggy. And she was going to be spending the night with Peggy at Peggy's apartment. She had left Peggy's phone number in case Mom needed to reach her. And she went to the bus to take the bus to Greensburg. I realized while I was at work that my sister had not called me, and that was out of the ordinary. I called her cell phone number and the voicemail was not Jennifer's voice, it was a different voicemail. And my first thought was my mom did not pay that bill and they probably reassigned her number to somebody else. So I called my mom and my mom was home and I said, Mom, Jennifer's phone keeps going to voicemail and it's not her voice. And she said, I know, I heard this morning too. And so we both thought it was weird, and my first thought was after that, somebody stole her phone, and she is stuck in Greensburg without a cell phone, and she has no way to contact us, and I don't know if she knows our phone numbers. I figure, okay, I'm probably gonna have to go to Greensburg to find her.
February 11th was a very...
Okay. The redhead called Angela is the one I was in prison with, okay?
Very busy day for us here at Channel 4. We were covering Snowmageddon. Western Pennsylvania was hit hard.
February 11th, I would have been the daylight detective. Guy by the name of Dan Grant, he had his work truck, his service truck was parked at the middle school. And he walked out and saw a garbage can, which would have been underneath his truck, between the front and back wheels. He thought the wind blew it there. He reached under to just pull it out so he wouldn't run it over. And he realized that there was weight to it and the lid had popped off. And he saw what he felt was a body inside.
Back to our breaking news. A body found stuffed in a garbage can in a local middle school parking lot.
Now, police here in Greensburg have not released a cause of death, but they tell us the manner of death is no doubt homicide.
My initial thought upon arriving at the Greensburg Middle School was because it was snowing and there was a heavy amount of snow, I decided that we were going to transport the entire trash can with the body in it to autopsy because we didn't want to risk losing any evidence. At that point, we had no idea, male, female, adult, child. When we removed the body from the can, we were able to identify that it was a young female, but we still, at this point, did not know who it was. There was no identification on her at that time.
We had a command post at the middle school that consisted of the city police, the state police, county detectives. We followed leads. They wanted to go door to door. What you would do when you didn't know where to start.
We need the public's help to determine who the victim is and how we may notify family. We have received some calls regarding what neighbors or passerby believe was suspicious activity. So we're following down those leads.
My mom called me back and she said, I don't know if I should even tell you this, but they had found a girl in Greensburg in a garbage can. They're talking and saying that this is like a young girl, like they're thinking it's a child. And I said, Mom, don't even worry about that. That's not even our problem. Thought about it, the more things started making weird sense. Thought, this is just crazy. And at that point, that's when I call the state police. And the state police send me to the Greensburg station. It escalated really quickly, and I thought, this is not good.
At the time that we were collecting evidence and identifying that it was a young female, I had taken some photos and sent them back to the City of Greensburg Police Department, where detectives were actively working on trying to find out who this was.
Adam, after she was removed from the garbage can, forwarded me a picture, and this is before iPhones, and I had just a flip phone.
There's this little tiny picture on this little phone, and we're trying to look at it, and I said, you know, I can't see, I can't tell, like, is it?
It was just a postage-size picture of her face, and her hair had been all cut off almost to like a crew cut.
I said, this girl just doesn't have hair. Her face was so swollen, and it was black and blue, and it was bloody, and whenever they sent the picture, they weren't able to crop it out, but you could see a cut across her neck. And I thought, this just isn't her, because this isn't what she looks like.
Us back to our breaking news. A body found stuffed in a garbage can in a local middle school parking lot.
I call the state police, and the state police send me to the Greensburg station. We were able to positively identify her with distinguishing body marks. At that point, that's when we knew it was her. Talk about the worst lottery in the world, and that's exactly what it was.
This is insane. I'm sorry, but
I couldn't understand how just a few days ago she was Jennifer, and then at that moment she was the picture that they showed us. It was so unbelievable. Who could do this to her? That night, we went home and was just trying to make sense of everything. I tried to go to bed, and I couldn't, because every time my husband would shut off the lights, I was terrified of the dark. So we actually had to sleep with the lights on that night.
I started to feel a real affinity in this case because at this time I had a 2-year-old daughter at home that was special needs. Some of what I started to hear about Jennifer being trusting and caring and loving was exactly what I saw when I went home and looked into the eyes of my own daughter. When I saw that in the pictures of Jen, and certainly in talking with Joy and the other family members, I knew that this was a very important case to me.
On February 11th, later that morning, we found the home for the garbage can out of the snowbank that was missing. There was no snow in these garbage bags.
Shit.
They were obviously removed from a garbage can. So the plan was we were going to take the garbage to identify whose it was, to see where the garbage can came from. While we were waiting for a car to come to take that garbage, Ricky Smyrns and Angela Marinucci came walking towards that house.
that's her. That's the one I was in jail with.
428 North Penn, where he was living. I had dealt with Ricky a number of times through my career, and we knew her. And he said, "Hey, Detective Vernell, what's up?" And I said, "We were looking for Jennifer Dockery. She's missing." And at the time, we knew she was killed, but I just wasn't giving him that information. And he said he knew her, and then I thought, oh, maybe I'll approach this differently. And I said, "How did you know her?" And she stayed here Monday night. and I haven't seen her since. We did the search warrant at that house.
When I first entered the apartment, I did a quick overview, a quick walkthrough with another detective just to see what the layout was and to plan my attack of how I'm going to process. But I immediately saw evidence in the residence that I deemed valuable for this investigation. I could see some remnants of blood. I noted a lot of sharp instruments around. There was an empty box of garbage bags sitting there. There was blood on that box. In the attic, we ended up finding a box that had most of Jennifer's belongings in it. The murder weapon was up there, other bloody clothing.
I asked Rick and Angela to come to City Hall, and they agreed to.
So what did you do? Just arrest? Rick, come on.
I swear.
Tell us the truth.
I did.
You knew full well what you were doing and what was in that garbage can, correct?
But it was also scary. I can't believe I did it.
One of the facts we uncovered during our interviews was that before it was public knowledge that Jen had been murdered, or that we had contacted Ricky Smyrns, he ran into a girl who had just gotten off a bus. He stopped her and admitted that he killed someone.
I think it was about 1:30 in the morning, I got a call from Amy, the district attorney's office, and Amy said, I have information, I need you to wake up and I need you to listen. She said, we've made arrests and I want you to know who we've arrested. And I said, okay. She said, you need paper, you need to sit down and you need to get a pen and paper, and I did. She gave me a name and she said, and this is the date of birth, you need to write all of this down. So I wrote down a name and a date of birth. And then she gave me another name and a date of birth. And then another name and a date of birth. And I said, Amy, what are you doing? Like, how many names are you giving me? And she said, there are more. Finally, I wrote down the last name and the date of birth, and she said, we arrested all of these people. She said they are all responsible for Jennifer's death.
Hi, thank you for watching. Don't forget, press like and subscribe. And one of the girls involved in this was someone I was in prison with.
The last piece of information that we had about Jennifer and where she was that she was with Peggy because of that envelope she had left for my mom with Peggy's phone number. On February 11th, later that day, we were able to call Peggy. Finally, she did answer the phone. She had actually told me on the phone first that Jennifer had left. Jennifer wasn't with her anymore. And I think that was the moment that we knew she knew more than she was telling. Around 2009, Jennifer had joined a place called West Place, which was a clubhouse that offered therapy and social opportunities for people like herself. And that was where she had met Angela and Peggy. Jen was also friends with Ricky through Angela and Peggy as well. There was a relationship between Jen and Ricky, but there's also relationships between Ricky and Angela, but Jennifer was definitely talking with him and had some sort of relationship with him.
She was smitten with Ricky. Angela was jealous, and that's where it all started.
That's why you can't trust redheads.
Early evening on February 9th, Jen went back to Peggy's apartment, but Peggy wasn't alone. There were 5 other people there. Angela Marinucci, Ambinger, Melvin Knight, Ricky Smyrns, and Robert Masters. Those people were later known as the Greensburg Six.
They all treated 428 North Penn as like home base. Melvin didn't have anywhere to stay, and I think they invited him and Amber to stay with them. And Angela would have been a senior in high school and was for a snow day. Term and Robert Masters came from the Michigan area to Greensburg, meeting Peggy Miller over the internet.
Jennifer had no idea that this was going to turn into a bad situation.
Didn't start out by wanting to hurt her. It started by
you're
that was their
Michael.
words, to humiliate her. They called them family meetings about
You're
what to do.
Michael.
They all participated in decisions that they were going to be made about her. They cut her hair, they poured nail polish on her, and then they started hitting her in the head with a plastic pop bottle, and then it escalated from there.
Jennifer constantly said, "Why are you doing this?" begging them to stop.
We never determined the specific order that the events took place, but we did know that they became more and more horrific, from cutting her hair to forcing her to drink bleach. It just escalated out of control, sort of like in a mob mentality. The police were called to the apartment by a former tenant to retrieve some belongings. Tuesday night, they hid her in the attic, so something was going on, obviously, that they didn't want the police to know.
The police had come in and were searching the apartment, and they were able to move Jennifer between rooms and put her in the attic and told her if she made any noise, they would kill her. So she didn't make any noise when the police were there. Literally, she was feet away from, salvation, and they were able to control her because she trusted that they were going to let her go.
After Jennifer endured what amounted to be a day and a half of this physical abuse and torture, the Greensburg Six got together for a family meeting, and they decided that Jennifer Doherty would die.
They knew that if they turned her loose, that she would report it to the police. They decided that Ricky and Melvin Knight would actually kill her. And they took her into the bathroom and stabbed her.
During the course of the autopsy, numerous injuries covered, not only injuries to Jennifer, but defense wounds from the fight that must have occurred during this torture and murder. There were numerous injuries all over her body that indicated it had been a long process before she had died, that she had fought for a long time.
This is the most, I don't know what word I'm looking for, the most horrific that I've ever seen done to, like...
They didn't even say everything. There was a whole lot more. They made her drink pee, eat dookie. They did a whole bunch of shit to her that they did not put in this documentary. The other one I saw went into like full detail.
Over that period of time, there was a kidnapping element to it. There was the torture element to it. I've dealt with homicides and, domestics where you can't take a bullet back, but what they did, they could have stopped over and over and over again, and they just didn't.
The idea that 6 people could find each other and agree to this just astonishes me. Like, I can't get 6 people to commit to one place to eat on a Friday night. I can't imagine 6 people just making the decision, okay, we're gonna kill someone.
It was so high profile because it was not only a homicide, but of a person that was taken advantage of by people that she considered to be friends.
6 people charged in connection with the torture and the murder of a woman in Westmoreland County are set to have their preliminary hearing today.
We covered the story extensively for several years. There was just outrage from the community, people wanting justice for Jennifer.
It was terrifying walking into the court that first day. It was overwhelming because we were still just in such shock that it even happened.
When we went to trial on the first case, I felt very confident that, we had done everything that we could to collect evidence and the proper items of the crime laboratory.
During the testimony at both Melvin Knight's trial and Ricky Smyrns' trial, the motive was shown to be a love triangle between Ricky Smyrns, Angela Marinucci, and Jennifer. There was a jealousy that Angela Marinucci held for Jennifer Doherty.
Jennifer Doherty's family says they are thankful they won't have to return to this courthouse anytime soon. However, forgiveness may never come. Peggy Miller will spend 35 to 74 years in prison. Robert Masters will spend 30 to 70 years for pleading to the same charges. Melvin Knight and Ricky Smyrns were previously sent.
That first girl got out of jail. She was in Muncie because defendants can't be together. But that first girl got out of jail or something happened. And that's why Angela keeps wanting to go to court. Well, keeps going to court.
Sentenced to death. Angela Marinucci was sentenced to life in prison, and Amber Meitinger received 40 to 80 years.
I think this was served as best as it could have been.
It was that last girl that got out or something like that. She got her sentence reduced.
I don't think there will truly be justice in this world. I guess that'll have to be left up to God.
There are people out there that take advantage of people that can't help themselves. And that's what we're going out there to try and prevent.
Greensburg was a town that we grew up in. Like, we grew up over the hill from there. And
good night. This is
it just
pretty
wasn't
much over anyway.
a place where
Good
this
night.
kind of stuff happens. And I think
I'm
it
about
just made it feel very
to go to
unbelievable.
bed as well.
And just so unreal.
Hundreds of people, many Jennifer Doherty never even knew, showed up tonight to honor her memory. All of the friends her sister said she would have loved to have known.
Jennifer wanted very little out of life. She wanted friendship, companionship, but most of all she wanted was to be accepted.
She wanted to fall in love. Like, she wanted to get married and have kids. And I wasn't sure if any of those things would happen for her. I hoped that they would. And, you know, probably one of the more upsetting things was the fact that she never got to that point. She wasn't allowed to.
Oh, he pled guilty. He pled guilty. Oh, she did get her sentence reduced. And so did she. Wow. Okay. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. It was great to have you watching. Please don't forget to press like and subscribe and come back tomorrow at 8-ish. I do Bible videos, and then after that, I do Getting High on True Crime. So make sure you press like and subscribe, and you come back tomorrow. I love you cousins so much. Well, both you cousins so much, and I love everyone else so much. So thank you for watching.